Well, good morning, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us today. Boy, we have a great show for you today. We get to talk to two of my favorite people from the City of Medford Building and Safety Department. We have Kimberly London and Chad Wiltrout joining us today. And we're going to ask them all kinds of things. Going to start talking about what happened in 2022. We want to talk about what's coming in 2023. There's so many code changes and procedures. We've got the commercial codes that were adjusted recently. So lots and lots to talk about with Chad Wiltrout and Kimberly London, City of Medford Building and Safety. We're so happy they could join us today. Before we bring them in and start chatting, want to give you a quick update on our local statistics. Josephine County days on market. That's the average number of days it takes to sell a home. Josephine County is still sitting in the 50s. Josephine County 56, Jackson County 49 days, and Klamath Falls 49. Still watching week to week. Looks like kind of the 2-month mark. Our average prices, Josephine County this week is coming in $447,000. Jackson County is coming in average home price $491,000, and Klamath Falls is coming in at an average home price of $312,000. Just a reminder, these are residential single-family home averages. Also wanted to brag a little on our Southern Oregon real estate market. Josephine County year to date has sold $510 million worth of residential property. Jackson County has sold $1.5 billion in residential sales, house sales this year, and Klamath Falls has sold $322 million. That's year to date. So here we are in November. We've got strong numbers. We're still selling houses right around 2-month mark, and the prices are still up a little. Just when you think it can't get any stranger, there you go. So let's take a quick break from our sponsors and bring on our guests today. We have Kimberly London. Well, good morning, Southern Oregon, and welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again today. I'm Lema. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. And today I get to talk to two of my favorite people from the City of Medford Building Department. We have Chad Wiltrout and Kimberly London. Thank you guys so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Well, I am so proud of our City of Medford services, and you guys, how you run the building department is just stellar. We've got great online support, great front counter support, great helpfulness. So I'm so happy you could come back, and let's let you talk. Let's tell people who you are and what you do for the building department.
Hi, I'm Kimberly London. I've been with the building department for almost 25 years. And I do classes at the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, continuing education classes for them. Next May is Building Safety Month, and we're doing a big real estate agent training in May. I believe they're just putting out the information on it if anyone's interested, or if you have specific classes, like if John L. Scott would like me to come and go over some classes, I'd be more than happy to.
Oh, that's
Talk
wonderful.
about permit history. I mean, building permits. 1913 was our first building permit.
Really?
For the City of Medford, 1913. So
Wow.
next year will be 110 years.
Oh, we should have like some kind of a party.
Oh, we are in May, because it's
Are
also
you?
50 years of Building Safety Month through the ICC.
Oh, that's great.
So we're going to do a double celebration. We're going to do events. It'll be fun. So watch for stuff from the City of Medford in next May.
Okay, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm Chad Wiltrout. I'm the Assistant Building Safety Director. And yeah, we've got a lot going on this year. We have a couple code changes. October 1st of this year, we had a new structural code, commercial structural code. That's the 2022 Oregon Structural Specialty Code. We also had the 2022 Oregon Mechanical Specialty Code. And we have a new accessibility code, 2017 International A117.1. So
That's a
yeah, there's a
lot.
lot going on,
That's a lot.
a lot of new information, a lot of, we're planning on at the end of this year, actually probably be the first part of next year. We'll do kind of like we did with the last code cycle. We call it a town hall, but basically it's just where we provide like a code change training for design professionals, designers, contractors, basically any of our stakeholders that would be interested in something like that. They could come and kind of get like the latest updates on the new codes that are being
Oh,
adopted.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you do one town hall meeting per code topic, or are you doing all of them at the same time?
We haven't always done that, but it seems like lately, because there's so much new information, it seems to be helpful to do that, especially with the energy codes. We have a lot of there's a lot going on with the energy codes these days. There's mandates from the governor, that kind of stuff, to try to curb climate change. And so that's really putting a burden on the building codes division to come up with these new provisions in the code to kind of address some of those.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing a lot of changes in our codes. And so we're just trying to get the word out there as much as we can. We try to create forms and operating procedures and things to help, to make it easier for us, but also to make it easier for the contractor, just for consistency and, so everybody's kind of on the same page. So one thing we do too is we really work pretty tightly with the other jurisdictions in Southern Oregon to kind of have uniformity with our the way that we're interpreting the codes and our forms and our checklists and that kind of stuff. We really work heavily, like with Grants Pass, Ashland, Josephine County, Jackson County. So we meet every other week, basically, to kind of go over different codes that are coming up.
So you're meeting with the building departments of the other municipalities?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's very good
Yeah.
idea.
Jackson
Yeah.
and Josephine County.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very good. Yeah. And how do so every other week, that's pretty frequent.
Yeah. So we do that, and there's a training component to that. And then we also, we just try to kind of have like a roundtable discussion and talk about, hey, what are you doing in your jurisdiction? Because you get a lot of conversations with contractors and design professionals that, they'll say, hey, we've never been asked to do that before. We've been all these other jurisdictions, and some of that, is tongue in cheek, but there is some truth to that too at times. And so we try to make sure that we're working to be on the same page. So we're giving a consistent interpretation, a consistent answer, across Southern Oregon. So
How long have you guys been doing that meeting cross
we
cross
started,
county?
It's been years, hasn't it?
Yes, I think we
Yeah.
started about 4 years ago, maybe, and then we took a big break. COVID really slowed. We kind of stopped during the whole COVID thing, and so maybe it's been longer than that. Maybe
So
it's been
before the shutdown, you were doing that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've been at it for a while. So
Well, and I would think that you would get both all the different municipalities in Josephine and Jackson County kind of have the similar issues.
yeah. In fact, we had at the last one here this last week, we even had someone from Hillsborough up there in Portland.
Wow.
So we get, and then we have another gal that'll be from Douglas County. She'll be joining here pretty soon. She couldn't make it last week. She had a sick kid, but she's gonna probably start here, in our next meeting.
And is the goal the same, to kind of try to have some consistency statewide? Is that what you guys
Yep.
are doing?
Yeah,
Cool.
That's exactly right.
Cool.
So
Well,
it's
we all
been-
appreciate it because it sure helps things go more smoothly. And the changes are sweeping once again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot going on, residential and commercial.
Mhm.
Well,
So-
let's where do you want to start? Because we got a lot to unpack here and not much time.
Yeah.
You want to start with residential?
Well, okay, so are you wanting to talk about what's coming up for as far as the codes, or are you
Oh,
wanting to talk more
we want to
about
talk
the
about it all.
stats?
Let's
Oh,
talk
okay.
maybe, let's go back kind of what's happened 2022. We're getting ready to wrap up this year. Let's talk about what's happened so far.
Talk about some
Yeah,
stats.
actually, residential, I do report every month that we put on our website, the City of Medford's website, and it's the building statistics. It's how many new residential, commercial is not just brand new construction, but all commercial construction with the valuations and stuff. And actually last month, we only had 7 new house permits issued. It has
Oh.
not, I mean, that's super low. I mean, I did the report twice. It was so low.
Oh, no.
We haven't had it like that since back in 2018 in December, which it traditionally slows down in the winter. That's normal. But 7's super duper low, considering in September we had 15, August we had 16, July we had 27, which makes sense, the summer months. But
Are the contractors saying why? Is it because of the interest rates?
interest rates actually does play a lot into it, because it knocks a lot of people out of being able to purchase. There
Mhm.
are lots available. There are new subdivisions opening up. I just think possibly, I mean, we know the economic conditions. I'm not even going to try to, speculate on that. But during COVID, a lot of the construction for new development kind of, if it wasn't already ongoing, it was put on hold. And so I think those are just now starting to come back to life.
Oh,
Because
wow.
we do have new subdivisions for residential coming up and being approved. So now we're just waiting for them to get the plan submitted. So I don't know that new housing construction, I mean, it definitely has slowed down, but I don't think it's as bad as people want to make it.
Yeah, and I was actually just talking to our building official this morning, and he says that he's heard from Mahar Homes and from Hayden.
Mhm.
They're projecting to continue strong through 2023.
Oh, that's
So
good.
they're not planning on slowing down.
Oh,
We
that's
also
really
have
good.
a new player to the area, which is DR Horton. They're either the largest or the second largest construction company for developer of single family dwellings in the nation. And they bought a couple of subdivisions here, and they're planning on dropping 10 foundations in December. So
10.
we still have activity going on.
Well,
So
that's really encouraging, because to have a new player, especially somebody who's a bigwig on the national scene, pick our area, that's very hopeful, isn't it?
yeah,
Are they the 3D people?
no.
Okay, we have a 3D
they're
housing
different.
project in the works also.
Is that the Spirit one, Spirit
Yeah,
Village?
Yes.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
been trying to get them to come on the show forever. Do you know them?
Oh. We
I'm
could
just
give
teasing.
you
I'm just teasing.
contact information.
So how about you tell us about it? Tell us what you know about the 3D Village. Because it's super
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I know that it's new. The subdivision that they're putting here in Medford is the second in the nation. So they were pushing hard to be the first subdivision of 3D concrete homes in the nation, but I guess they missed it by a few months.
Oh, bummer.
So it's fairly new technology. There's a couple states that have started using some of this technology. I think Texas is one of them, Arizona, some of those areas down.
And Florida for hurricanes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So really what it is you have a machine that is a computerized machine that has the design in that system. And then there's basically a big structure, and this thing just kind of moves on this system, and it just kind of follows the layout and the computerized, in the program, and it's just concrete. So and we haven't really seen the design of the homes yet, but there's going to be some work to get these to meet our local design criteria.
Yeah. How
not
does all that work?
prescriptive.
We have a completely different
Yeah,
technology.
exactly. Well, they're not prescriptive. So prescriptive meaning that you can open up the code book and find how, the nuts and bolts on how to build something. Yeah, that won't be available to them for these projects. So they'll have an engineer, a licensed design professional that kind of designs it, that meets our local criteria. We're pretty high seismic region, and wind, we're, in there too, I guess. It's high wind, about 95-mile-an-hour wind speed. And so they'll have to design, another big item will be the energy to meet the energy codes and stuff too, because you have concrete. So you have to pour out your walls and figure out a way to get insulation in there to create your exterior envelope. So there'll be some design that goes into that, some creativity, I'm sure.
So we're talking to the City of Medford Building and Safety Department. We've got Chad Wiltrout and Kimberly London with us today. We're all over the place. We've got so much to talk about. I keep saying we got to have you on more often. We do have to take a quick break here. We'll be right back. We want to say thank you to our sponsors, John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford. Also, the local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, we call RVAR, and Guy Giles, Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. Thanks so much for sponsoring us every week. We will be repeating this broadcast again tomorrow on Sunday at 6 p.m. on KCMX, which is moving from 880 AM to 99.5 FM, just in case you didn't know. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. Today, we're so happy to have Chad Wiltrout and Kimberly London from our own City of Medford Building and Safety Department. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks.
So right before the break, we tangent slightly just because the 3D technology is such a big deal. And we actually have a project starting in Medford. Do you have any dates? Do we know much about how that process is going? Because it's a completely new technology.
Yeah, I personally don't know when they're planning on submitting plans. I have talked to their design professional, and he mentioned something, I think first part of the year, they were going to start submitting some plans, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So my guess is it'll be sometime next year.
Well, it's so exciting. We're so proud to have 3D technology in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be coming next year. I've spoken with them a couple times also on the submittal procedure, how long the process takes, inspections, costs. So they're fine tuning it, and I think we're going to start seeing some plans coming in early.
Yeah, the inspection process. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, you can actually, for the City of Medford, a lot of people don't know this, but you can call in your inspections. You can go onto our city's website and schedule your inspections. And now we can text. We have the texting capability.
Can you?
I know, we just got it. It's about a month old, and it's actually working really well. I've had favorable responses. I can use it, so I know it is not rocket science. And it'll text you back and let you know the status of your inspection, so you're not logging in.
Wow, that is
find out
stellar.
the status of it, or going out to the job site and looking at your job card.
That's amazing.
Just not sure. So that's actually something fairly new. That's really exciting.
Good for you guys, really.
Yeah.
I love how forward thinking you are. You were one of the first people, I think, to have such a sophisticated website, weren't you, for such a small population? Isn't City of Medford's website considered very robust?
I think it is.
Yeah.
We are changing it. We are getting a new system for checking permit history and scheduling inspections. That's going to come next year. We're testing it right now. I'm hoping it has more functions and features than our current system. There's quite a few things that are missing. Real estate community, I've jotted down the notes loud and clear what they'd like to see on that website. And I'm hoping we can, get it together and bring it to fruition early next year. Yeah, like actually what's going on when you look up permit history, it just says remodel. It would be nice to know what was remodeled.
Right.
Yeah. So just little things it's there, but not enough to get somebody where they want to go. But you can always do a public records request.
Right. But that's so
consumer
oriented. Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of remodels, we are actually getting ready to start a remodel of our front office.
Oh yeah.
So,
you are.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna look different. It's gonna have a different feel.
Yeah.
There'll be windows for each. There'll be some walls, basically for safety, for protection purposes and stuff. But there'll be a wall there that kind of separates the lobby area from the staff.
You
And
know,
each
that's
department will
probably
have
a good
keynote.
idea, huh?
Yeah,
With the way the world
They-
is these days.
exactly. Yeah.
And
So,
we're good, but we're going to be closed to the public. Community Development Services is going to be closed starting Friday, tomorrow at noon through December 9th. It is business as usual with Public Works, Planning and Building. You can still email in your requests, call us. Some people are working from home, of course, because they're displaced, but you can still come in by appointment only. But I just want people to know it's going to be blocked, it's going to be closed because there's construction going on. We can't, of course, have people
Right. Yeah.
walking through that. But if you absolutely are not a computer person, email us, call us, and make an appointment, and we can still absolutely accommodate you.
Yeah. You guys are amazing with whatever technology level or not
Mhm.
the public has. You help them with a smile and great information. Well, let's talk about what some of the code changes have happened. Because there's some big ones. I'm not even sure which one to start with.
well, so this year it's the commercial codes that are changing. So I kind of already mentioned the structural specialty code, the Oregon Structural Specialty Code. So basically what happens is we take the national code, International Code Council, they adopt or they create what's called the model code. And then Oregon takes it and they have several months to kind of go through this code change process where they take and they amend that model code, which is a code that's used throughout, not just in the US, but throughout throughout the world, really.
International.
It's international.
Mhm.
And so Oregon will amend it to make it their own. And so they usually follow behind. So like, for example, the 2021 International Building Code is the model code for our 2022 Oregon Structural Specialty Code. So we amend it, we give it a different name, and then it basically fits our criteria here in Oregon. So Oregon is fairly, they're kind of on cutting edge when it comes to energy and stuff compared to other regions in this nation.
Yep, that's
And
us.
so, what's that?
I said that's us.
Yeah,
Bleeding
yeah.
edge.
Whether you like it or not, right?
Whether you like it or not.
So one of the big changes too is that in the last code cycle, we had a new code. It was the International Existing Building Code. And that was a code that basically addressed all existing buildings. So if you wanted to come in and change the use of your building, or if you wanted to do an alteration or an addition to an existing building, you would use that International Existing Building Code. What they've done this last code cycle is they've removed that code. So we no longer have that. And they've taken all the provisions that were in that code and they put it back into that structural code. So chapter 34 will have all of those provisions. From reading through that information, one of the biggest things that we're going to see, and it's one of the questions that gets asked a lot on existing buildings, is, am I going to have to do a seismic retrofit on this building? And so the biggest change that I've seen so far in the existing building code language is that it used to be that you had to step into a different risk category. So for example, you have 4 different risk categories. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so, like, for example, I'd say probably 95% of the commercial buildings that we see here in Southern Oregon are a risk category 2 building. To get to a 3, you'd have to have like a public assembly, or actually just an assembly use, like a church or a restaurant or a movie theater, something that had an occupant load over 300. That would bump you from a risk category 2 to a 3. That's just an example. And then you get into hospitals and you get into our essential facilities, like the police stations, the water treatment facility. Those are your risk category 4. The idea is that if you have a seismic event, those things are up and running to kind of keep people going through, these emergency facilities and stuff. And so, or your high hazard, explosives, those kind of things. So it used to always, up until this code cycle, and it's still a provision in this code cycle, that if you bump from one risk category to another. So for example, the Rogue Valley Mall would probably have an occupant load over 5,000 people. That would be a risk category 3.
Okay.
If you had a strip mall that had less than 5,000, you'd have a risk category 2. So what the code said is that if you bump yourself from, by changing the use of your building, you go from a risk category 2 into a risk category 3, or a 3 into a 4, that would require a seismic retrofit of the building. you'd have a structural engineer that would do an analysis of the building, and they would look at it and say, okay, you need to bring this up to current code for seismic requirements and stuff. So that provision is still in the code, but what they've added to it for this one is that S occupancies. So you have stands for storage, S occupancies and U occupancies, utility. Those two uses, if you change occupancies, so let's say you go from an S to an M, which is mercantile, or you go from an S to an office. So let's say you want to convert an office, a warehouse into an office, or a warehouse into a shopping center or something. That would bump you into seismic retrofit. So that's new language in the code. So every code cycle, they're making it a little bit tight. They're kind of tightening up that requirement.
Well, I wonder if we should get in front of it then. Some of the building owners, maybe they should do it sooner than later.
Well, one of the things that Medford provides, the city of Medford provides, is some financial support for businesses that want to either retrofit their building seismically.
Oh, that's
or
cool.
With the fire suppression system.
Mhm.
So we do have some incentives there for people that are looking, for landowners that are looking to update their buildings or change the use where it would trigger that requirement. There is, I think, up to 50% of the cost for some of these systems. And so
Yeah, it sounds like an expensive retrofit.
it could be,
Seismic,
yes.
yeah, support. So, and
Yeah.
so does it have to be a multi-story building to be, even a single-story building might get?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some other little provisions, like if you replace your roof on an existing building and you have unreinforced masonry parapets, some of that kind of stuff could trigger a partial seismic retrofit. So there are some little, things in the code that could trigger seismic retrofit.
So how does a commercial building owner find out what their opportunities are if they want to do seismic retrofitting early? Like, do you guys come out and talk to them, or do they have to hire some kind of special building planner?
Well, yeah, we can always consult with a building owner, but we would probably point them towards Harry Weiss. He's
You're a Medford renewal agency.
Yeah.
That's where the funding would come from to help support paying for that. They would need a design professional, of course, because maybe the retrofit, once they look at the structure, isn't going to be that evasive. I mean, we're not necessarily saying it's going to be a lot of money. It just, I mean, a lot of our older buildings, they're still standing. And they're in better shape than
they are
buildings that are 10 years old. I mean, that does count for something depending on the type of construction and stuff like that. So it does need a design professional. So there is some funding up front to make a determination of if and how to proceed.
What's the timeline on those seismic retrofit for at least Southern Oregon? Because sometimes we get a little longer time to adopt things.
You mean, when do those provisions go into effect?
Yeah.
So October 1st, those codes went into effect, but the state is giving a 6-month grace period. So you have an option to use the existing structural codes or commercial codes or the current codes until the end of March.
Okay, 2020.
Part of April, we're going to be in the 2022 structural or the 2022 commercial specialty codes.
Okay, we're going to have to take another quick break. Sorry, hold that thought. We're talking to Chad Wiltrout and Kimberly London, the City of Medford Building and Safety. Gosh, we've got so much more to go over, things that have happened in 2022, and we're going to talk about what's coming in 2023. So please stay tuned. And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Don't go away. Well, welcome back to the Real Estate Show, everybody. We have such a great interview happening right now with our very own City of Medford Building and Safety, Kimberly London and Chad Wiltrout. Thanks for being on the show again, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, so much to talk about. Right before the break, we were going over some of the code changes. We were talking about seismic retrofitting and that process. What about some of the other areas of code changes that came up recently?
Well, one sec, I'm gonna turn up.
So the EV charging stations, Chad's going to talk a little bit about the EV charging stations, what's going on with them, non-energy provisions.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I had to turn off my,
Go.
I had my phones turned off. So anyways, yeah, so one of the big changes right now are the because there's an executive order from the governor to basically to limit global warming by 2 degrees Celsius, and that's by reducing greenhouse gas emissions to at least 80% below the 1990 levels. And the mandate is to have that done by 2050. So that's going to affect 16 different state agencies, some of those being DEQ, Department of Energy, Public Utility Commission, Oregon Health Authority, ODOT, BCD. So this
Wow.
is a very big deal to the state. And so one of the changes that we're seeing is with electrical vehicle charging system. Basically, at this point, it's just infrastructure. So as of July 1st of this year, there was a mandate that went out. It was House Bill 2180, and basically it passed, at the legislative level to provide provisions for future electric vehicle charging stations. And so basically at this point, you don't have to put in the charging system, but you have to put in, the conduit in the ground. You have to have designation, an area in the building, or provide a service panel or something to accommodate these charging systems. These charging systems for commercial buildings, it's a level 2. So there's different levels of charging stations, and it has to do with the size of the system and how fast it can charge a vehicle.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so there's level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is what you're going to see in your single family dwellings. Level 2 and 3 are what you're going to see typically in your commercial buildings. Some of them are fast charging, where you could charge a car in as little as a half an hour. But it's also
that's
going to take
good.
480 volt, 40 amps. It's going to be, a big system. Exactly. Exactly. Very, very spinny systems, or they can be. So fortunately, at this point, all that's required is that so basically for new buildings, so any new construction from July forward, if you have a commercial building that's under private ownership, if you have multifamily where you have 5 or more residential dwellings, and that excludes townhouses, because townhouses are considered a single family, they're attached single family dwellings. They're separated by a 2-hour wall typically.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows them to build them out of the residential code. A lot of times because they have property lines between them, so it's a separate property for each unit. So the townhouses are excluded, but when we say multifamily, we're talking apartment buildings basically. So all commercial buildings under private ownership, multifamily apartments that where you have 5 or more, and then mixed use buildings where you see some of these where you have maybe you have your first story is commercial buildings, and then you have residential on the second and third story. That kind of scenario where you have mixed use buildings and you have more than 5 multifamily in those commercial and those mixed use buildings. All of those are captured under this requirement. And so basically what they're saying is that, when you build a new building and you have a parking lot or a parking garage, that at least 20%, or it says actually the language is more than 20%, is required. More than 20% of those parking spaces are required to be basically accommodate future charging systems. Mm-hmm. And so in each one of those charging systems for each one of those spaces would typically be a 40 amp, 208, 240 volt system for each one of those. And so at this point, you have to have, it's the conduit in the ground, labeling each end of the conduit so that is for future use for that purpose, for that charging station.
Wow. Should people who are remodeling their multifamily buildings start doing that now as well?
Only if they want to. It's optional for that.
Right. But I'm just
thinking
ahead, because nothing gets less expensive.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
No.
Yeah, that's true. So, and then here's the next part of this, that bill basically provides, there's a provision in that allows local jurisdictions to require more than that 20%. So our planning department at this point, they are working on adopting some provision in the municipal code that allows up to 40%, or that would require up to 40% for multifamily.
Wow.
So yeah, it could be fairly spendy. And so that is an impact to our local developers, really.
Yeah, might
So,
make garages more fashionable too.
yes.
That's all that. If you don't have a garage, then all that stuff is outside, which it's weatherproof, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it could be parking structure, or it can be, you know, outdoor parking spaces, but
Mhm.
either way, that will be, for now, everything, any new building is 20%. But like I said, planning is working on bumping that up to 40% for
Yeah,
some uses, such as multifamily.
that's interesting. Well, in the few
Yeah.
minutes we've got left, want to jump back to Kimberly real quick and talk about how important it is to get permits, to call and find out if you need permits,
Yeah,
and to
it's
try to not buy something if it doesn't have permits.
yeah, it's ongoing. We have buyers and sellers, and they purchased a home and it has additions without permits. It has garage conversions without permits. Something as simple as 2 kitchens, and you know, it's had 2 kitchens for a long time, and now you're renting it out, and it's never been legal with 2 kitchens. There's probably 5 right now in the city of Medford.
Oh,
They're
wow.
not code cases, but we're working them because they're properties listed for sale or they're pending sales. Another big one is a lot of new construction. Within the past 10 years, the contractors really are not finishing the basement level or the crawl space level. I mean, it's there, it's ready to go. And I've noticed on a lot of new of the construction that it's now included in the square footage, but they never obtained the permits to legally recognize that square footage.
Oh, well, that's an
So you
oversight.
always want to check the permits and see what we show for habitable square footage. And honestly, I can't help you. I can't help you figure out if something's legal or not legal if you don't tell me what you're trying to find.
Yeah.
You don't tell me the garage is converted and I supply you with the permit history and there's no garage conversion permit, that doesn't mean there isn't more in-depth research that I could do to try to help you figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are so great about that. If you ever are looking to purchase a property, or you're in escrow, or you just purchased,
Yeah.
the City of Medford Building and Safety, super knowledgeable, super kind, and super technical. You guys are great at helping people get it fixed.
Right. And they can just go on with the website, www.medfordoregon.gov. It says government, fill out a public records request, and we could get you the permit history from 1961 to current.
That's amazing.
Just,
well, we're out of time again, guys. Yep. Thank you, Chad Wiltrout, Kimberly London, City of Medford Building and Safety. Great website, great people. Call them, email them, whatever you need. They'll take care of you. Have a beautiful weekend, folks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you.